Hey, welcome back to Dwood. Today we're going to build another American flag, a red, white, and blue flag. There are detailed build plans in the description below. Let's get started. The first thing I did was I went to Home Depot. It's my favorite place to go get lumber. I picked out some 1x4s by 8 foot long that had the least amount of twist and bow in them. I then cut them to length, sent them through the planer on both sides to get a smooth surface. Now I'm going to take them through the table saw, just cutting off the outside rounded edge to give it a square corner. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button now while we're watching me cut wood. Now that you're subscribed, we'll go ahead and move the fence over to 1.5 inches, flip the board around to put the good edge against the fence, and run the board through twice. This will remove the other rounded edge off the boards. Now that I've got all my boards cut, I lay them out in a grain pattern that looks appealing. I set my miter saw stop so that it will only go about a 1/16 to an 1/8 inch deep. Put a stop block at the back of the saw since my saw won't reach with that saw stop set. Then I use my stop block to make my cuts repeated. As you can see, my stop block was a paint can. Now you should have 7 of your stripes with the groove. I taped off those grooves and placed some protective sheets over it and used some lacquer black paint to fill in the groove, just to make that separation between the union and the stripes. I do have plans available for these flags. If you want to click right above my hand here, or in the description below, there should be a link. Also, if you like my videos, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Once that dries, I sand it with my orbital sander just to remove any bleed over of the paint, and go ahead and sand the rest of the stripes to get a smooth surface. I blow the dust off the grooves and off the pieces from the sanding. I then take my torch and begin doing my torched effect on the flags. I just try to make a random pattern. Usually take a scrap piece, get the hang of it if this is the first time you've done it. This flag is for the red, white, and blue flag, so I'm not doing any solid stripes that are burnt all the way through. If you also notice, I've got more stripes here than normal. I'm doing 2 flags at one time. Using blue stain, I stain the union area up to the groove that I cut and painted. I only let it stay on for a couple minutes before lightly wiping it off with a clean, lint-free rag. I found that if you wipe too hard, you will remove more of the stain than you want and will make it much lighter. I do the same thing with the red stain and then move on to the white stain. I have found using the white stain that you want to leave it on for a shorter amount of time. It dries quicker and it will dry on the piece and not want to come off, leaving streaks. So simply wipe it on and wipe it off. Again, I'm making 2 flags at the same time. This is why I have more red and white stripes with the union. Now I move on to doing the solid red stripes the same way as I did all the other staining, just doing the full length. Found it a little easier doing so many at the same time, just to lay them out and wipe it on. Right about here, I figure out that I forgot to torch this part of the flag. I simply took a dry lint-free rag, wiped it off, and that got most of the stain off because it was only on there for a couple seconds. I then took my torch, went ahead and torched the stripes and reapplied my white stain. And this is where you should be laying out your flag in the order that you had planned. Make sure that you don't make a mistake and get your stripes in the wrong place. I used a special jig that I built to keep my flags at 90 degrees and to hold them down flat. If you want plans for these, check in the description below. Now, taking the flag from the position I had it laid out, I just simply flip it over from left to right, making sure to keep them in the same order. This will make the union be at the top right hand corner in the jig, or on your table if you choose not to build a jig. Now I just slightly snug up the bolts, put 3 clamps on the flag, making sure to leave room for my back strips, and tighten them up slightly just to pull everything together snug. Then I tighten down my jig to further flatten the flag and retighten my clamps. I made these strips out of scrap pieces of wood that I cut in half to 18 inches. Applied plenty of glue and brad nailed them to the back. Make sure to leave room around the edges for the frame if you're going to install a frame, as I do. I've done this so much, I'm pretty fast at it. I now remove the flag from the jig and we are done with the flag assembly. Next, we're going to move on to doing a little burning on the back of the flag just to keep that rustic feel and the burnt effect throughout the flag. I think it gives it a little more character and makes it look a little more professional. Now we're going to move on to building the frame. I take measurements from both directions, and I'm going to make my frame making the sides the full length on the side. I cut both my sides to length and then hold those two pieces together against my full length of the flag and make a mark. This will subtract the two sides, making the bottom and top the correct length. I take these through the same process I did the stripes in cutting off the one side of the rounded edge and then cut them to length, cutting off the other side. I drill pocket screws, 3 holes in the top and bottom pieces and 1 in each side. Next, I move on to assembling the frame, starting with one side. Again, make sure that your side is on the outside of the top and bottom so that it is the full length of the flag. I assemble the frame with glue and brad nails, as you can see right here through my elbow. I then dry fit the frame on the back of the flag, flip it over, and apply glue around the entire frame. I don't go too heavy with this glue because it will squeeze out, which means a lot of cleanup after you get it screwed together. Now I use 1-inch pocket screws and assemble the flag square to the frame. Now I took a scrap piece and cut it to 10 inches long and then cut it at a 45-degree angle down the middle, creating the French cleat system. I measure the center of both, line them up on the top of the flag, drill, countersink, glue, and screw this to the frame. There is a link to a video on how to hang the French cleat system in the description below. Then I take my torch and continue this rustic burned look along the frame and the rest of the flag. I now finish my flags with a spray lacquer. I usually use an HVLP sprayer, but you can also use just a spray can spray lacquer that you get at your box store. I would use a gloss if you use a spray can. I use a satin on my HVLP sprayer. I use the Gemini shown here. Pro tip of the day is on your lacquer or paint cans, if you take a awl and punch holes as seen here, it will help drain and keep your rim clear. Now to move on to laying the stars. I made story sticks to get the correct measurements for laying out my stars. These measurements for these sticks are in the detailed plans that I have available in the description below. What I did was I laid them out on each end of my flag, marking on the flag where my marks were on the story stick. This indicates the top of each line of stars. Then I have another stick that I lay out, which indicates where each star will go. I line that board up with the marks I previously made, apply a little bit of glue on my painted stars, painted in this case for the red, white, and blue American flag. I then place the tip at the point of each mark across the line of stars. I continue this down for 5 rows, and then I come back and eye the center stars in place. Next, I come back with a pin nailer and put 1 pin nail in each star just to give it a little more security in holding it on the flag. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you out. I'd love to see pictures of your flags that you build. Go ahead and send those to me at my email or share them on Instagram and tag me. If you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, if you'd like to support this channel to keep it going, click that Patreon button there on the screen or down in the description below. I have different tiers that come along with free gifts and mentions on my show. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep it real.